Did you say wing attack plan R?
Yes, sir, I have.
Goldie, how many times have I told you guys that I don't want no horsing around on the airplane?
I'm not horsing around, sir. That's how it goes.
Well, I've been to one World Fair, a picnic, and a rodeo, and that's the stupidest thing I ever heard come over a set of earphones. You sure you got today's code?
Yes, sir, it is.
Oh, there's just gotta be something wrong. Wait a second, I'm coming back.
Now, I can't go too far without talking about Slim Pickens, who portrays Air Force pilot Major T.J. King Kong. Yeah, that's actually the most normal name in this movie, by the way. He's introduced in one of the first few scenes, and he immediately grabs your attention with his accent and his cowboy hat. In all honesty, he made me immediately think of R. Lee Ermey's drill sergeant in Full Metal Jacket. Both the actors were fully committed to their characters, and it's easy to believe that they really are the characters that they are playing.
Now look, boys, I ain't much of a hand in making speeches, but I got a pretty fair idea that something doggone important's going on back there. And I got a fair idea of the kind of personal emotions that some of you fellas may be thinking. Heck, I reckon you wouldn't even be human beings if you didn't have some pretty strong personal feelings about nuclear combat. But I want you to remember one thing. The folks back home is counting on you, and by golly, we ain't about to let them down. I'll tell you something else. If this thing turns out to be half as important as I figured it just might be, I'd say that you're all in line for some important promotions and personal citations when this thing's over with. That goes for every last one of you, regardless of your race, color, or your creed. Now, let's get this thing on the hump. We got some flying to do.
This movie is supposed to be satire, but honestly, it's kind of terrifying. Ultranationalist General Jack D. Ripper. Told ya King Kong was the most normal name. Anyway, Ultranationalist General Jack D. Ripper delivers a speech regarding war, whether it should be left up to generals or politicians. Now, it's chilling, and instead of me sort of summarizing, why don't I let you hear it before I go on?
I suppose it never occurred to you that while we're chatting here so enjoyably, a decision is being made by the President and the Joint Chiefs in the war room at the Pentagon. And when they realize there is no possibility of recalling the wing, there will be only one course of action open. Total commitment. Mandrake, do you recall what Clemenceau once said about war?
No, I didn't think I do, sir, no.
He said war was too important to be left to the generals. When he said that, 50 years ago, he might have been right. But today, war is too important to be left to politicians. They have neither the time, the training, nor the inclination for strategic thought. I can no longer sit back and allow communist infiltration, communist indoctrination, communist subversion, and the international communist conspiracy to sap and impurify all of our precious bodily fluids.
It gives me chills just hearing it again. Either that or it's just really cold where I'm recording. I don't know. I think it's just because I heard it again. After this, we are moved right into the war room, where the president and his advisors discuss the events of the first 30 minutes of the film. This sort of peels the curtain back regarding defense policy. George C. Scott's General Buck Turgidson, yeah, there's another weird name, voraciously chewing stick after stick of gum, Peter Sellers' President Merkin Muffley grows more and more flustered by the proceedings. It's here where we see how bureaucracy and military strategy can naturally collide, where it's impossible to plan for war while maintaining a proper chain of command. I'm not a policy expert. I know nothing about nuclear war and the policy of mutually assured destruction. It's pretty easy to see the bias in Kubrick as a filmmaker, depicting the military as super hawkish and aggressive. The politicians, of course, are the level-headed ones, wanting to avoid war or any acts of aggression. So like I said, it's not too difficult to see who Kubrick sides with. That's not to say that he's a propagandist. He's not. Not in any way, shape, or form. He just allows his bias to inform how he writes and directs his characters, and it also informs how the story unfolds. That's not a bad thing as long as you know that's the case going in. But that's also not to say that Kubrick comes off as some kind of communist sympathizer. This is evidenced by the moment when a Russian ambassador is offered a Jamaican cigar after requesting a Cuban one. His reason for the rejection? He doesn't want to support the work of imperialistic stooges, leading to the response of, "Only commie stooges, huh?" from an American military representative. There's also the subtle jabs and stereotyping of Russians. The premier of the USSR is depicted as drunk and stupid. It's kind of refreshing to see equal opportunity offenses from a film.
Try B86543 Moscow.
Yes, sir.
You would never have found him through his office, Mr. President. Our premier is a man of the people, but he is also a man, if you follow my meaning.
Degenerate atheistic commie.
What did you say?
I said Premier Kissoff is a degenerate atheistic
Mr. President, I formally request that you have this ignorant brute
I'm
removed.
sorry,
Mr. President, I think they're trying the number.
You filthy bully, you filthy, you surly guy, not tasted karate before, eh? You war-mongering bully.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Now, I had no idea just how chilling the performance of Sterling Hayden as Jack D. Ripper would get. But there is a moment where he is seated uncomfortably close to Sellers' Captain Mandrake, his arm around him ranting about various conspiracies. His performance is often parodied now, but I'm pretty sure his patient's zero when it comes to insane military men on film. Now, the other brilliant part of that scene is Peter Sellers. As Ripper puts his arm around Mandrake, he sort of sinks into himself, playing with something in his hand. He's like a little kid being hugged for too long and too hard by an ant he's never met. It's subtle, yet hilarious. And the scene ends with Ripper saying to a British military officer, "Come on! The redcoats are coming." Now, I'm sure he's referring to red as communist red, but it was still a clever line of dialogue. Now, it's this point in the movie where we meet the third character portrayed by Peter Sellers. If you're keeping score at home, the first character is Mandrake, the British officer working with General Jack D. Ripper. The second is the President. And the third is Dr. Strangelove. He's wheelchair-bound. He's a German expat scientist who works for the American Department of Defense. Now, the comedy in this scene is subtle but brilliant. The way he holds a cigarette, his ridiculous glasses, how Sellers' other character, President Muffley, responds to the revelation of each detail given by him. He's such a good actor. It's so fun to watch. Now, I must also give props to the makeup department on this film, by the way. Each of Sellers' characters are distinctly different. And to be honest, I think it would take some time for someone who didn't know that he was playing multiple roles to figure out that they were all the same person. And it's not like they are under layers of prosthetics or makeup. It's a combination of their use of costuming and wigs, along with how distinct Sellers makes each character look, sound, and behave. It's really quite wonderful to watch. As the film continues, Ripper shoots himself, and Mandrake ends up being taken into custody by a colonel named Bat Guano. Another dumb name. Bad Guano. Bat Guano. Mandrake is determined to crack the code to stop nuclear war and convinces Bat Guano to let him try calling the president via payphone. And what follows is a hilarious scene involving loose change, a coke machine, and a gun. I can't do it justice with any kind of reenactment, so just listen to it.
Okay, go ahead. Try and get the President of the United States on the phone. If you try any perversions in there, I'll blow your head off.
Operator, this is Group Captain Lionel Mandrake. I'm speaking from Burleson Air Force Base. Look, something very urgent has come up, and I want you to place an emergency person-to-person call with President Merkin Muffley in the Pentagon, Washington, D.C. Burleson 39180. No, I'm perfectly serious, operator. The President, yes, the President of the United States. Oh, I'm sorry, I haven't got enough change. Could you make this a collect call, operator? Just 1 second, operator. They won't accept the call. Have you got 55 cents?
Well, you don't think I'd go into combat with loose change in my pocket, do you?
Operator, look, is it possible to make this an ordinary trunk call? Well, what do you call it? You know, station to station. Oh, blast. I'm still 20 cents short. Operator, hold on I shan't keep you a second. Colonel, that Coca-Cola machine, I want you to shoot the lock off it. There may be some change in there.
That's private property.
Colonel, can you possibly imagine what is going to happen to you, your frame, outlook, way of life, and everything, when they learn that you have obstructed a telephone call to the President of the United States? Can you imagine? Shoot it off! Shoot with a gun! That's what the bullets are for, you twit!
Okay. I'm gonna get your money for you. But if you don't get the President of the United States on that phone, you know what's gonna happen to you?
What?
You're gonna have to answer to the Coca-Cola Company.
The last few minutes of this film are very tense. As the president realizes one of the American planes has not heard the recall order, we are sent back into the plane piloted by Slim Pickens' character, King Kong. Everyone knows where it's headed. We know about the iconic image of Kong riding the bomb into the sky, but the way there was a mystery to me. By the way, this is also where I finally realized that one of the gentlemen in the plane is none other than James Earl Jones, a young James Earl Jones, by the way, because he asked, where is Kong? Where's Kong? What about Kong? And he's below the plane, and he has just fixed it so the bomb can be dropped, and he goes out whooping and hollering, waving his 10-gallon hat like any cowboy should, and it's one of the most tragic things I've ever seen. And then there's the final scene, where Dr. Strangelove pitches a survival plan involving living underground. It was actually kind of hard to laugh at. Now, I'm sure it was played for laughs, given Sellers' exaggerated movements, fighting himself from referring to the president as Führer, and giving the Nazi salute, etc., etc. But what he suggests is actually very horrifying. 10 women to every man for breeding purposes. The breeding and slaughter of animals. It's scary.
I would think that possibly 100 years.
You mean people could actually stay down there for 100 years?
It would not be difficult, mein Führer. Nuclear reactors could... I'm sorry, Mr. President. Nuclear reactors could provide power almost indefinitely. Greenhouses could maintain plant life. Animals could be bred and slaughtered. Quick survey would have to be made of all the available mine sites in the country. But I would guess that dwelling space for several 100,000 of our people could easily be provided.
Well, I would hate to have to decide who stays up and who goes down.
Well, that would not be necessary, Mr. President. Could easily be accomplished with a computer. And the computer could be set and programmed to accept factors from youth, health, sexual fertility, intelligence, and a cross-section of necessary skills. Of course, it would be absolutely vital that our top government and military men be included to foster and impart the required principles of leadership and tradition. Actually, they would breed prodigiously, eh? There would be much time and little to do.